Hey everyone, I just thought I'd show everyone how I waterproof my Vandal here for anyone who wants to get out and enjoy the snow. We'll start with the front CVDs. Once you've taken it apart a little bit and you get out the full CVD joint, you'll want to remove the rubber ring that sits in this groove here. And that will let you remove this pinion, this pin, which will then let you pull this out. And then this, you can just push out of the end there. And you'll want to just get all that cleaned up, get all the dirt and grease off of it. And then next we're going to be using marine grease. Got to keep that water away. So you'll just want to lube these up real good. I usually just put a big clump on there. And then just, that way, just when you're pushing it in, it'll just get everywhere and you can just make sure everything is just covered in grease totally. Because you just want that all nice covered. You do want to pay attention though to where the hole in that little cylinder is though, so you can put the pin back in. There. I know where my hole is now. So then, probably just want to add a little bit more grease on the end, just so you got a nice good amount of grease in the joint here. So you just want to line up your hole with the two holes in here, and then just, push the pin through again. There we go. Now it is a little bit tricky to slide the rubber back on when the O-ring back on when your hands are all covered in grease. So that can be a bit of a pain, but it's not too bad. Right after a bit of fidgeting, I finally managed to get it on. So then we're going to want to lube up the bearings, and so you just get a nice big gob of lube on there. Push that backwards. You always want to make sure you get both sides of your bearings, with a good amount of the marine grease. That way they're protected from rusting out. Because it's never any good when you get stuff just rusting away. Put that back in there. Some grease on the front bearing. So after a bit more fiddling, I was able to get the bearing pushed in there properly, with it being all greasy. You also want to make sure that you put a good amount of grease on the other end. So when you put that in, it's you keep the rust out of there. That's pretty much all for the bearings, though. Well, I shouldn't say that, because what you really need to do is take off this top plate, and then remove the front and rear diffs, and take them apart, and grease up the bearings inside them with marine grease. That's something you really need to do too. You also do not want to forget the bearing that sits right here, in this piece of aluminum right there. That's a very important bearing to keep nice and greased, and it's also exposed a lot more compared to all the other bearings. So you definitely need to get that one greased up there good. Well, let's move on to the electronics now. Now, I find the best way is to obviously buy waterproof electronics in the first place, because then you don't have to do it yourself. So the servo on this, and the speed controller, and the motor are all waterproofed from the factory. So I didn't have to do anything like that. I did have to waterproof the receiver though. Now, all I did to waterproof the receiver was use liquid electrical tape, and I'll just show you exactly what I did to do that here. just a reminder, you really do want to make sure your hands are grease free when you start going and working on your electronics and stuff. Okay, so it's pretty straightforward, really. All you really need to do, if I can get this lid open, let's see, I seem to have put it on extremely tight. There we go. So the good old liquid electrical tip. So you basically just want to coat the whole thing in it, except for the pins that you plug your speed controller and servo and such into. But other than that, you just want to give it not too thick of a coating because it takes a really long time to dry. But I find a couple light coats is really the best way. But yeah, you just want to get it nice and coated all the way around. Make sure you don't have any spots that aren't covered. So the sides and the edges. And yeah, I mean, it should be nice and covered completely. And the same on this side. Just cover it all. It can be a bit of a pain trying to get this into some of the smaller areas where it's a little bit more open and you can see that it's not covered it, but you just work at it a little bit and you will have it covered in no time. So yeah, there's one waterproofed receiver. Obviously it needs to dry, and I'll probably do a second coat on it just to make sure it's nice and covered properly. But that's all you really need to do for electronics. I mean, that works with speed controllers, and you can do it with servos too. But you need to do more than just that with servos. You need to waterproof the gears, and it's a bit more work than just covering the circuit board of the servo and that stuff.